Hi, we're Group 38. I'm Exequiel Manalo and I'm paired with Nathaniel Cajuday, and today we'll quickly walk through our output for Activity 6, the report abstract class, the counselor report and student report subclasses, and a short test demo. Okay, so now let's start off with our report Python file. We start with a short module docstring to describe what the file is all about, and we have imported uppercase ABC in abstract method from lowercase rather ABC, so we can define an abstract class. And we have also imported date from datetime for the report's generation date. And now we define the abstract class report, which is enclosed with uppercase ABC to make it an abstract base class. And this establishes a common interface that our concrete or the subclasses reports will follow. Now, inside the class, we have declared three attributes that every report should have, which are the report ID, which is a unique identifier, the title, which is a readable name, the date generated for when the report was produced. We initialize this in this class constructor, which we took the three values and assigned them to self so they're available across the instance. Now, going down in the method section, we also declared generate report and mark it with abstract method, which means any class that inherits from report must implement its own generate report. Now, it's either to print or return a formatted report, and by doing this, we keep the interface consistent across report types and leave the presentation details to each subclass. Now let's discuss the counselor report class. This inherits from the abstract report base class and generates a counselor-facing summary of the past sessions. At the top here, we have imported the date and the report base class, and then we define a counselor report which inherits from the report abstract class. Now in the constructor, we call super.init, which calls the report ID, the title, and the date generated from the abstract class to set the common report fields. And then we store two inputs specific to this report, which are the counselor, which is the one requesting the report, and the sessions, which is a list of session objects that will be included. Now, the core logic is in this method, which is the generate report. First, we print the report header using the three base fields, which are the report ID, the title, and the date generated. And then we formatted a table header with fixed column widths, so the columns would align consistently. We have the ID, the date, the student name, and the type, which define the widths in characters. And then next, we set the title map that translates the session class into a display label and the correct notes fields. The guidance session are guidance notes from the guidance details. The career session are notes from the session notes in the career session. And the mental health notes are coming from the mental health session notes. Now, for each session in self.sessions, we call get session details and pull the schedule slot, which gets the session date via get schedule slot details, then the student object to get the student's name, the session type from the class name, and the notes field determined by the type map. And finally, we print one rows per session with the session ID, date, student name, session type, and notes. This produces a clear counselor-oriented log of recent sessions using the common report interface defined by the report abstract class. Now, moving on, we have our student report class, which is similar to how we did the counselor report with a few tweaks. This also inherits from the abstract report base class and generates this time a student-facing summary of the past sessions. In the constructor that we initialized, we have the report ID, the title, and the date generated to set the shared report fields, and then we added two inputs specific or two parameters specific to this report, which are the student, which is the student requesting the report, and the sessions, which are the session objects that will be included. Now, we have also added here the method generate report, which is mainly about printing the report for the student. Now, we start by printing the report header, again using the base fields, the report ID, the title, and the date generated. And similarly with how we have cleaned up the format in counselor report, we have set our column widths so our table stays aligned in our test. And then after that, we print a header with the widths applied. Now, we have also defined a small type map to label the session type and to pick the correct nodes field. Again, we have the guidance session, which are the guidance notes from the guidance field, and the career session notes, which are coming from the career session, and we also have the mental session, which are notes coming from the mental health session notes. Now again, for each session, we call get session details and read the schedule slot to get the session date, the counselor object to get the counselor's name, the session type based on the class name, and the notes from the field indicated by the type map over here. And again, we print one row per session. Here you go, with our session ID, the date, the counselor name, the session type, and of course, the notes. This gives the student a clear history of their counseling sessions while following the common interface defined by the report-based class. We'll demo everything in this test Python file, starting off with importing the classes that we need from the previous activities, which are the student report, the counselor report, our session subclasses, the schedule slot, the student, the counselor, and the date and the time types. Now, just to give a quick heads up, these are the outputs that we have previously submitted in the previous exercise, but when we try to run it, there's a couple of syntax error that we have encountered. So for the sake of this activity, we updated a few from the previous classes for it to work. Now, let's start off with our first step, which is setting up our sample data. For the student, we have set up here the student data, which are the student number, the name, the degree, and the birthday. This follows the student class here that we have previously submitted. And then we also have the counselor, which has the following: the counselor ID, the name, and the license number that we reflected in this case. Now, we have also defined 3 schedule slots with the date and start and end times, which we have just played around a couple for this specific example. And then third, we instantiate sample sessions. Now for this, we have 2 career sessions with session notes plus structure fields like career goals, the assessment, the industry focus, and the skill gaps. Same goes with our session 2 example that we have instantiated. And then we have also created one for the mental health session which notes the chief complaint, the symptom severity, the therapeutic approach, the interventions, and the treatment plan. And fourth, of course, we generate the student report. We pass the student object, pick the relevant sessions, and call generate report to print a fixed with table with session ID, date, the counselor name, session type, and the notes. And then, of course, we added a separator line in here just to make a distinction between the student report and the counselor report. And then we pass on the counselor and the all sessions for the generate report method. In this case, we printed the counselor's table with the student name instead of the counselor's name in here. And so to run the demo, we place all the class files in the same folder as you can see in here on the left side. And now let's try to run the code. Let me just pull it up and run. So now the output shows 2 aligned tables. First, we have here the student's history, and then this is the line that will indicate the differentiator between the student and the counselor. And then we have here now the counselor session log, verifying that our report-based class and both concrete reports work end to end. So that's it. Thank you.